Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce Admin Series. Today's topic is profile and permission sets. So let's see what we are going to cover in this video today. So we will see about profiles. Then there are like standard profiles in Salesforce. You can also clone a profile and then you can customize that, and also you can create some of the permission sets in Salesforce. So let's find out what is a profile. So profiles define how users access objects and data. So now you have a user in your org. In your Salesforce org, you have created a user, and you must have remembered that you have to select the profile when you are creating a user. So profile is like one of the mandatory fields which you need to select while creating a user, and it depends like which user license you have or which user license you are using while creation of users. Based on that, you will get the list of profiles in the profile drop down. So that profile, it will define how this particular user will access the objects and different data in Salesforce. So while a user is created, it has been assigned with a profile. So once you will create a user, you have to assign with it a profile. Profiles allow specifying settings related to users' access level for objects, apps, tabs, and page layouts. So these are some of the areas of Salesforce, like the objects, apps, tabs, and page layouts, related to which whatever access level user have, it can be specified in the profile. And the profile, based on that settings which are there in the profile related to these particular entities in Salesforce, user will get the access accordingly. A profile is a collection of settings and permissions. So profile settings determine which data the user can see. So there are like a lot of data in your org, but you don't want like every data to be seen from every user. Suppose you have sales team and service team, so you want to segregate the data between those two, like the deals data or the opportunity data, you want it to be visible to only sales team, but the cases data or the service request data, you want it to be seen by service team only. So that's how you can segregate like which data the user can see using profile settings. And permissions determine what the user can do with data. So now profile settings will tell you, okay, these are the data which user can see, but the permissions which you are giving them, like the create, edit, delete, different kind of permissions. So based on those permission, it will be determined that what that particular user can do with the data which he is able to see. So that is the combination of profile setting and permission which comes under a profile. A profile can be assigned to many users, but a user can have only one profile at a time. So if suppose there is a profile of system admin, so there can be multiple system admin in your org, but one person can only be a system admin at one particular of time. So what does that mean? That okay, if a user, suppose a user X is a system admin currently, so he will play the profile of only system admin. He cannot have like multiple profiles at a single point of time. But then there can be user like Mr. X, Mr. Y, Mr. Z, and all three can be system admin. So all three user can be assigned the same profile, but a user will have only a single profile at a particular time. So if you want to change it to any other profile, you have to change that particular profile. You cannot have like multiple profiles at a time assigned to a user. So as you know, then there are like in every entity you have seen that there are like standard objects and then the custom objects. So similarly here also you have standard profile, and then you can also customize a profile. So What are the standard profiles? Every org includes standard profiles that can be assigned to users. So, like in every Salesforce org, there are some list of standard profiles which are already provided by Salesforce and that can be assigned to the user. If suppose there is something which is not fulfilling your requirement with the help of standard profile, then you can certainly go ahead and customize a profile. But other than that, there are the standard profiles which are already there and that can be assigned to the users and cover most of your organization needs. In standard profiles, a few settings can be edited. So as it is a standard profile, you cannot edit like everything or anything in that profile. There are certain settings that can only be edited when you are using a standard profile. So that is something which is the limit in case of using a standard profile. Some of the common standard profiles are system admin. As you know, system admin is a standard profile. Then you have something called standard user, standard platform user, solution manager, read only, and then there are many more according to the license, according to the user license which you're choosing. Based on that, there are multiple standard profiles defined in the system. Object permissions can't be edited on a standard profile. So when you are using a standard profile, you cannot edit a object permission. So if that object permission is given as like create edit, so it will be the create and edit for that user as well. You cannot like simply go ahead and edit it in the standard profile. No, you cannot. So object permission you cannot be edit on a standard profile. So what if you want to do it? What if that particular delete option you required other than create and edit? So what you can do, you can clone a profile. So the easiest way to create a profile is to clone an existing profile and then you can modify it. So you have to clone that particular, suppose if you're using the standard user profile, but in the standard user, there is one object in which there is no delete permission. But you want to have the delete permission. So what you can do, you can simply clone that standard user profile and then you can go ahead in the object permissions and give it to the delete access to the user. And if like there are multiple things which you want to edit in that profile, you can do it while after cloning a profile, but you cannot do those changes in the standard profile. So the easiest way is to, you can create it, you can just simply clone it, and then the new profile which will be created, it will use the same user license as the profile it is cloned from. So it is not like that if you are cloning a profile, you can change the user license from that. Suppose your user license for the, like the Salesforce user license, if it is the limit of 2 and you have already used 2 and now you want to you are thinking that I'll clone the profile and I'll change the user license to something else, that you cannot do because the profile from which it is getting cloned, it will inherit the same user license from the standard profile. Assign users, object permissions, tab settings, assigned apps, and session settings can be viewed and edited under profile. So now when you're cloning a profile, you can do all these things here. You can view all these different settings and you can edit them also. So unlike the standard profile, you can edit all the settings under the clone profile. So whether it is assigned user, you can assign different users to that profile which is cloned. You can define different object permissions, different kind of tab settings, different assigned apps and session settings. So all this can be done under the file which is cloned. Now there's something called permission set. So now you have profile. Suppose there are 6 users in sales team. Okay. So now you have created a sales profile, or maybe you are using the standard sales profile from the Salesforce. So now they have a fixed set of permissions, access level to different things, to different objects, to different apps, different kind of page layouts. So all that has been defined in that particular profile, and that particular profile is assigned to all those 6 users which are in the sales team. Suppose in that particular sales team, there is one user which needed some extra access to something else, maybe some object, maybe some kind of app or profile setting. In that he wanted to have some extra access. So there are two options. What you can do, either you will go ahead and create another profile from him and give that profile to that particular user. So for just one user, you have to create a new profile, edit those settings, and then assign it to that particular user. Or you can try another option that is called a permission set. So a permission set is a collection of settings and permissions that give users access to various tools and functions. So it is also very similar to profile, but then it is something which is very specific as well. So it is a collection of same kind of settings and same kind of permission that users access to various tools and functions. These settings and permissions are also found in profiles, but permission sets extend users functional access without changing their profile. So as we were talking in our example, profile will remain same for that user like the other 5 users were there in the sales team, but then the specific access or the extra access which he wanted, we can provide that extra or the extended functional access to him using the permission sets. So user can have only one profile. So you have defined one profile, you have given the different permissions and different settings in that profile and assign that to the user, and that is only can be like one user can only have one profile, but then there is no limit on the permission set. You can have multiple permission sets assigned. If you have like it is used to grant access among logical grouping of users regardless of their primary job function. So it is something like if this permission set or if this particular additional access which we are giving the user from the sales team, similarly there is a user in the service team who wants the same kind of access, wants the same access to a particular object which is not there in the profile that has been assigned to him. So what we can do, we can create a permission set, we can assign that permission set to the user from the sales team as well as to the service team user, which those two users who they wanted to give the additional access or maybe extend the user's functional access. So it is used to grant access among logical groupings of users. So it is not like what is their main profile or what is their main job function. It does not depend on that. It depends on if there is a logical grouping. So as we said, like the user from the sales team and user from that service team, those two particular users need to have that additional access. Then we will create a permission set and we will assign them to those two users. So it will not change their profile, it will not impact the other users who are under their profile, they will not get that additional access, but the profile will remain same for those users. And just what happens that only the two additional users which wanted to extend that functional access will get the that permission set will be assigned to those two users. If a permission is not enabled in a profile but enabled in a permission set, users with that profile and permission set have the permission. So suppose that's what for that only we are using the permission set, right? So if there is any permission which is not enabled in a profile, but then you have created a permission set and enable that particular permission in the permission set, and then you have assigned that permission set to the user, any particular user, then he can have that permission set, then he can have that permission to perform that particular function. So you irrespective of what the profile has in its settings, irrespective of that, if the permission set is allowing him to do that and that permission set is assigned to that user, so he will have the permission to perform that particular function. So we will create a permission set in Salesforce and then you will get more ideas. So it is a simple example. Here you can see that there is a profile of sales user. They have read, create and edit leads. So these are the basic permission settings or the as we talked about the profile settings and the permissions which are there under the profile. So they can read, create, and edit the leads. But now there are, like you can see here that there are like 4 people who have sales user profile. But now suppose these 2 users need to have additional access of deleting a lead and transferring a lead to someone else. But we don't want to assign it to all 4 users. We just wanted to assign it to these 2 particular users. So what we can do, we can create a permission set where we will assign these permissions of deleting leads and transfer leads, and then we will assign this particular permission set to only these users. So their profile will remain same as sales user profile, but they get additional access, or they will extend their functional access using this particular permission set. And now these 2 users can delete and transfer leads along with reading, along with viewing, creating, and editing the leads. So that is the difference between profile and the permission set. So there are a few more things about permission sets. So permission sets can be newly created or cloned from an existing one. So similarly, like you can clone. So like there are also some standard permission sets. You can create a newly permission set, or you can clone it from an existing one, similar to the profile. Like you can clone from a profile, so similarly you can clone it here also. And then if you want to do some changes, you can do those changes in the clone profile ones, called clone permission sets. To allow access only during specified sessions, session-based permission sets can be created. So now suppose you are performing the task, and like there is a particular session which is going on, like you have logged in. So for that particular session, you want to provide a particular permission set. So you can create session-based permission sets as well. So it will be active, it will be applied to only that particular session. That permission set will be based on only that particular session for which it has been created. It will not be applicable to like all sessions. No, it will only be applicable, it will only be it will only be active in that case when that particular section for which it has been specified. So if there are many permission sets, using permission set groups can help improve performance. So like if you have like hundreds of permission sets in your org. So what you can do, you can create a group of permission sets which are like most likely you are assigning to like every user, or maybe to a particular set of user. You are assigning like these 5 permission sets, you are assigning together to like these group of users. So what you can do, you can create a group of those 5 permission sets, and you can simply assign that permission set group to those 5 users instead of assigning it like individually to all the users. So it will basically save your time, it will help you to improve your performance. One permission set can be included in more than one group. So it is not like that. If you have included one permission set in the one group, you can also add that particular permission set to another group as well. So sometimes you can have like, this is the flexibility basically you have this flexibility that you can juggle between those permission sets. You can have like one group here, you have like 5 permission sets in this group. Maybe you have another group in which you have like 4 permission sets, and one of the permission set is there was in the earlier group as well and in this group as well, but the other 3 permission sets are different here. So that kind of thing can be done in permission sets group. And permission sets can be assigned to a single user or multiple users. So it is like that only. So if you have created one permission set, it is not like that you can assign them to only a single user and then you cannot reuse it. No, it's not like that. You can assign them to a single user or maybe multiple users. So it depends like how your organization process works, how you are looking at it, like what are the different accesses, what are the different additional accesses which you want to give to a user using permission sets. So based on that, it can be assigned to a single user or maybe multiple users. So one thing which is very important, like permission sets will always extend the functional access of user. It will only add additional access. It will not take access back from user. No, for that you cannot use the permissions. The basic permissions which we'll have, that is defined in the profile, and additional permissions or additional settings which you want to assign to a user, that can be done using permission set. So permission set will always extend users functional access. It will never decrease it, or it will never remove anything which is already there in the profile. So you cannot remove anything from him using the which is there basic in the profile. You can simply just add more functionality or more access level or more permissions using the permission set. So this is the main thing related to permissions. So now we will log in into Salesforce, and I'll show you where are the different profiles located, how you can clone a profile, how you can create a permission set and assign it to a user. So let's log in into Salesforce. So once we are logged in, we will go to the setup menu. Under the quick find, we'll type profiles. So under users, you will get the profiles. So click on profiles. So here you can say these are the standard profiles which are already defined in the Salesforce. So here you can say there are different marketing profile, sales profile, support profile, and the user license which they are using is the Salesforce. And now if I'll click on next, so here you can see all other profile which we have talked about: read only, solution manager, standard platform user, standard user, system admin. So all these profiles are already present in the Salesforce. So here you can see there is an option of creating a new profile. So if you'll create a new profile, you can choose an existing profile from which you want to clone it from. So you can choose any particular profile from here and then give your own profile name, whatever you want to use. So you can use that profile name here and simply click save. So suppose we will use the standard user profile, and we will give our own profile name, suppose test standard user. So now we are cloning it from the standard user profile. So before we clone it from here, let's see, we'll go in the standard user profile, and I'll show you what are the different settings under a profile you can see. So suppose you go into the standard user profile. So here you can see profile details. So there are the name, what is the user license, whether it is a custom profile or it is a standard profile. Based on this checkbox, you can know it. Then here you can see different page layouts. So suppose if you have like in the account, so it varies by the record type. So whatever record type you will choose, based on that the page layout will be assigned when you are accessing the account, because you must have remembered that for the account we have created two different record types, referral partner and the school. So based on those two record types, you will get the different page layouts. Then here in the custom object layout, so similarly for the standard objects, so all these were the standard objects, and now these are our custom objects. So like the program has the program layout, sponsor has the sponsor layout. So whatever custom object layouts we are using, that layout is showing it here. Then you have field level security. So here you can see there are different standard field level security and custom field level security. So whatever suppose object you are looking at, so based on that you will just simply click on view, and you will get the list of all the fields and the related access level for this particular profile, which is called standard user profile. So here you can say similarly you have custom field security. Now you have custom app settings. So what are the different apps and what will be visible to this profile? What will be the default standard? What will be the default app for this particular profile? So based on that you can see here. So now suppose if I want to edit it, let's see if we could edit it or not. Okay. So this is a standard profile, right? So now in the app settings, I want to make my app as a default app for standard user. Okay, so now it has been make the default, and now the sales is no more default. And I'll simply see here. I will go and click on save first. Okay, so now if I'll use a user and logged in using that particular user as a standard user, if that user is a standard user, so instead of getting sales profile by default, what he will get the my app as a default app for whenever we use the app launcher. So you'll get the app as like the by default app which will be visible would be my app instead of the sales app. So those are few settings which you can change in the standard profile. Then here you have different tab settings. So you can see which all tabs are default on, which are default off, and if there is something like this is a tab hidden. So this particular tab is hidden from this user. So if you don't want to show him one particular object or one particular any particular object or any tab, then you can simply use the tab hidden, and that particular tab will be hidden from him and he will not able to access that particular object. So that is the use of tab hidden. If it is default on, you can make it default for him. If it is default off, it will be present under all items, but it will not be visible. It will not be like visible to him by default. So if he goes to all items, he can see it, but then it is not default on. And if it is tab hidden, it will be hidden from him. He'll not be able to see it if he is using this particular profile. So it is all based or it is all stored in the profile setting. Then similarly, you have custom tab settings. Then you have record type settings. So here you can see accounts. You have school and referral partners. So both these standard record types will be visible to this user. Then you have administrative permissions. So these are the different permissions, like if you can manage or different kind of reports, dashboards, or you can create maybe uh, dashboards, create list views, and then you can whether you can customize any application or not. So these are, you have like modify all data or not. So if these are some very important administrative settings you can see here, and based on your organization structure, based on the different needs, you can provide you can set these different settings under one particular profile, and whatever users are assigned that particular profile, all these settings will be applicable to all those users. Then you have some general user permissions. So these are like if you can manage leads, if you can manage cases and flows, and there are like many settings here you can see, and accordingly you can use it. So if it is particular in case of knowledge management, whether this person or this profile can manage articles or not. So if it is disabled here, he cannot perform this function. If it is enabled, then that particular user whom this profile is assigned, they can perform this function. Now here you can see there are some object permissions. So here you can see in case of accounts, they have all this permission, but they cannot view all and modify all. But then they don't have like under the cases, they have read, create and edit, but they cannot delete a case. Then under the contacts, they have like all these form permissions, but in case of price book products they have only view permission. So these are like different kind of permutation and combinations which you can perform. Suppose if you want to have a very similar kind of this, but then you want to give like few additional access in the object, so you can simply clone this profile and then you can change those object permissions here. Then here in the custom object permission you can see then that they don't have any custom object permission here, but when you clone it, so you can maybe change these permissions and assign it to those users. Then here you have other settings like session settings, password policies. Then you have login hours, login IP ranges, as we discussed. Like all these can be done at the profile level as well. So if it is defined at the profile level, then they will simply be, if they are logging in like outside these particular IP addresses or these particular login hour range, whatever is defined here, if they are doing it outside of that, then they will not be able to access the Salesforce. And this can also be defined at the organization level. This login hours and login IP ranges can also be defined at the organization level. So these are different, you can see here the different settings which can be set up in profile, and based on these settings, whatever user that has been assigned this profile will perform the action in Salesforce. So let's see, we will try to clone one profile. So from here also you can simply click on clone, or from here you can create a new profile. So let's see, if we clone the standard user profile, what will happen. So suppose I'll clone the standard user. So it will say the existing profile will be the standard user. The user license will be the same from which that profile has been cloned. So you cannot change the user license here. And now if I'll create the test standard user, and I'll simply click on save. So as in the standard user, you have seen that they don't have access to the custom objects. So let's see if the same thing is here as well. So if I'll go in the object permissions, so here you can see that they don't have custom object permission here, right? So it is not there currently when we have cloned it. So now if we want to give him this custom object permission, so what we can do, we can go and simply click on edit, and we will go back to the object permissions, and suppose I'll give him the programs, read, create, edit, and delete. Okay, and for the workshop I'll just simply give him read, and for workshop participants also I'll simply give him read access. Okay, so this is something which I have changed when I have cloned it. Now I'll simply save it. So now the users who have this profile assigned test and standard user, they will able to see the custom objects which we have just given the access to in this profile, like the programs and the workshop and workshop participant, they can only view it, but in case of programs they can create, edit, and delete it as well. So let's see, suppose we will go to the users, how we have assigned, how we can assign the users. So let's find it out. So suppose I'll click on users, and suppose I'll choose this user. So currently here you can see that the user license is Salesforce and the profile assigned as system admin. Suppose let's edit it. And first I'll show you, if I'll give him the standard user here, and I simply click on save. Okay, now if I log in as SS, I'll log in as SS. So let's see if he has the access for the programs or not. So I'll try to find out the programs. So here you can see under the items, he is not able to see the programs because that programs object he doesn't have access to. So we cannot see the programs object here. Now I'll log out as SS. I'll go back here. Okay, it is logged out. So now I'll go back here, and what I'll do, I'll edit it again. So now I'll go back again to the users, and I'll here, I'll edit it, and in the profile, I will check the test standard user here now this time, and I'll simply click on save. Now let's try to log in again with SS, and let's find out if he would be able to see the programs object or not. So I'll go and simply click here and I'll type programs. So now here you can see the programs is coming because we have given the read, create, edit, and delete access to the program. So now he can view the program. He can if he want, he can create a new record of the program object. He can delete any of the records or edit the records. So that's how you can extend the, that's how you can change the access from for a user. If that is not there in the standard profile, you can clone it. So all other things you have cloned it from the standard user, but then you want to change some of the other permission. So you have given those permissions in that particular profile. Now the last thing is, suppose if there are 5 or 6 users and I have assigned the same test standard user to all those 5 6 users, but now as in the test standard user you have seen that they have only view access for the workshop and workshop participants, right? But I want to give one of those users as the edit and delete access to those objects as well, but I want to simply have the profile same as the test standard user. So what I have to do, I have to create a permission set for him and assign that permission set to that particular user. So like we discussed, the profile is going to be same for all those users. Just for that particular user, I'm providing additional access for the workshop and the workshop participants. So how we can do? So here you can see the permission sets. Under user, you can see permission sets. So click on permission sets. Here you can see these are some of the already defined permission sets here. Now, if you want to clone a permission set, you can clone it from here. So let's, so I'm logged, so I have to log out as SS. Here also, I guess I have to log out. Okay. So now I'll log in back again as admin, as system admin. And here you can see now I'm getting the new permission set button because I can create a new permission set using system admin. But because I've logged in as SS and he has the profile of test standard user, which doesn't have permission to create, which doesn't have option to create a new permission set because that is not defined in his profile settings. So now because I've logged in as back as system admin, now I can create a new permission set. So I'll click on new permission set here and I will give label as maybe workshop access, something like that. You can give a description and whatever license you want to choose in the permission set. So who will use this permission set? Choose none if you plan to assign the permission set to multiple users with different users and permission set license. So if it is not respective to any particular user license or any permission set license, so you can simply choose none. If you know, like, okay, only these particular users who have this particular license, they are going to use it, you can choose it from here. So currently I am keeping it as none. And then here you can see all the settings has coming again, which were there in the profile. So we want to have it the object setting. Here you can see the name is coming. So let's go to the object settings. And in the object setting, what we want to do under the workshop and workshop participant, we want to provide the different access. So let's go into the workshop. And here you can simply edit it. So currently the tab and whatever the tab is available, it's also not available. So I'll just make it available. I'll make it visible and I'll give all the read, create, edit and delete permission here. And then you can have also add some field permission if you want to add, if you want to give them the access of the number of participant, programs, seats available. If you want to give other field permissions as well, you can do it from here. So I'll simply save it. So now I have this permission set created. So let's go back to the user to which we want to add this permission set to. So I'll go to the users and I'll click on SS and I will, here you can see you have option of permission set assignments. So here you can edit his assignments. So I'll simply click on permission set assignments and we will assign him the workshop access. So I'll simply click on, I will simply choose the workshop access here and click on save. So now this particular user have permission set assigned to him related to the workshop access. So now let's log in from this user and see if we can create a new workshop or not. Okay, so let's log in. Now here we will choose workshop. Workshop. So here workshop is coming and he is getting the new button as well. So he can create a new workshop. He can edit an existing workshop. He can delete the workshop and he can view all the records of the workshop. It has been created. So that's how you can perform this additional access. You can, so because only this user has been assigned with this permission set, so irrespective of his profile, because in the profile, he doesn't have access to the workshop, create, edit, and delete. He can only view the workshop. But because this permission set has been assigned to him, he can do the additional things. So if suppose there are 3 other users who has been assigned with this profile, but then they don't have this permission set, they will not able to do those additional things in the workshop object. So that is something which you can do with the help of permission set. So similar, if you, as we talked about, if you have multiple permission set, you can create a permission set group and assign those permission set under that permission set, and you can simply assign that permission set group directly to the user if you want to give all those permission sets together to that particular user. So it will improve your performance, it will save your time, and instead of like giving like individual assignments of the permission set, you can do it in a group. So this is something which is about profiles and permission sets. So one more thing which I'll quickly show you is about the roles. We have discussed this also in our field security and record security when we discuss about the different sharing model. So here you can set up different kind of roles. So you have to simply expand it, and based on whatever level you want to show the you want to add another role, you can do it here. So why it is not giving option, because I have to log out as SS. I have to log in back again as admin. Then it will show you the different options of creating new roles, assign different roles to different users. So here you can see, you can set up roles, you can set up the role hierarchy here. So you have to simply, you can add roles. Suppose under HR, you can, if you want to add another role of HR team. So here you can give the label, you can give the role name and whom it will report to. So you can choose your reporting manager, the role of that reporting manager, and the what type of role name you want to display it on report. So it is optional. If you want the same, you want to use the same role name, you can. If you want to change something else, you can change. And if you will simply save it, it will come under your hierarchy here. And then you can edit it, you can delete that, and you can reassign, or you can assign it to any of the users which are there in the Salesforce org. So this is all about from the profile, permission set, and roles perspective. So I will suggest you to go ahead and try different profile settings, see what all different profile settings can be done, can do, and what kind of access, what kind of permission settings, what kind of more options you can get using the profile, and then create some permission sets and assign them to different users and see what is the difference. Create different kind of roles and see how the hierarchy works, how the sharing model works. So this is very important concept from the admin point of view, because it will basically uh, create a foundation of the security and sharing model. So using these different profiles, permission sets, roles, field level security, record level security, org wide default. So these are very important concepts of Salesforce. So I would suggest you to please go ahead and practice as much as you can. And that is it for this session. Thank you all for joining me in this session today. Thank you.